I think one of the things that I find so interesting about grief is that it's not confined to the loss of a person.
Yeah.
You know, that's often our initial association.
Right.
But it can really be triggered by any significant loss.
That's true.
That kind of disrupts our sense of self and the world around us.
Yeah, that really expands our understanding of it, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it means we could be grieving the end of a relationship or a job change or a move.
Right.
Even the loss of a dream we've held close.
Exactly. And it highlights the deeply individual nature of grief. You know, one person might experience intense waves of sadness,
Right.
while another feels a prolonged sense of emptiness.
Right.
And, you know, there's no single right way to grieve.
So how do we even begin to make sense of this roller coaster of emotions?
Yeah, well, I think you think of it as a spectrum of emotions, often unpredictable and intense.
Right.
You know, sadness and yearning are probably the most familiar, but anger, frustration, even guilt or regret can surface.
Oh, wow.
And you might find yourself swinging between moments of intense emotion and periods of numbness or shock.
It's almost like our internal compass gets completely recalibrated.
Yes.
Leaving us just completely disoriented and unsure of where to turn next.
Exactly. And it's not just an emotional experience.
Right.
Grief can manifest physically as well, impacting our sleep patterns,
Wow.
appetite, and energy levels.
Oh, really?
So you might feel exhausted all the time, have trouble concentrating, or experience changes in your sleeping or eating habits.
That makes sense. If our mind is grappling with such a profound experience,
Right.
our body is bound to react as well.
Exactly.
So what can we do when faced with this physical and emotional upheaval?
Yeah.
It's so easy to just feel overwhelmed and just want to shut down.
Yeah, that's where the concept of self-care becomes really crucial.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about ignoring or minimizing the pain,
Right.
but rather providing yourself with the resources to weather the storm.
I see.
You know, think nourishing foods, gentle movement, restorative sleep, anything that replenishes your well-being.
So we're talking about intentionally creating space for healing
Yes.
and acknowledging that grieving takes energy,
Yeah,
both physically and emotionally.
exactly. And while tending to our own needs is vital, you
Right.
know,
Right.
it's equally important to recognize that we don't have to go through this alone.
Oh, absolutely.
Connecting with others, sharing our experiences, allowing ourselves to be supported can be incredibly powerful.
It's that age-old wisdom of a burden shared is a burden halved, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
But sometimes simply being present for someone who is grieving can feel really daunting.
Yeah.
What are some practical ways we could show up for a friend or loved one who's hurting?
Well, one of the most valuable gifts you can offer is simply your presence. Listen without judgment, validate their feelings,
Right.
resist the urge to offer unsolicited advice or platitudes.
Yeah.
Sometimes just knowing someone is there to hold space for their pain
Right.
can be incredibly comforting.
So it's about resisting the urge to fix things or force cheerfulness.
Yeah,
And instead simply being a compassionate witness to their experience.
exactly. And small acts of service can go a long way too.
Like what?
Offer to help with everyday tasks like cooking, cleaning, or running errands.
Okay.
It's about easing their burden and allowing them the space to focus on healing.
It's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the most profound expressions of love are found in the simplest gestures of care and support. But what about those moments when grief just feels all-consuming?
Yeah.
When the pain is so intense it becomes difficult to function?
Yeah.
How do we know when seeking professional help might be beneficial?
That's a crucial question. While grief is a natural response to loss, there are instances when it can become overwhelming and impact our ability to navigate daily life. That's when reaching out for professional support can be incredibly valuable.
So what are some of the signs that someone might benefit from professional guidance? What should we be looking for in ourselves or others?
One key indicator is if grief is significantly interfering with your ability to function in everyday life. Are you struggling to fulfill work responsibilities, maintain relationships, or even care for yourself? These can be signs that the intensity of grief requires additional support.
It's like the weight of grief becomes so heavy that it impacts our ability to engage with the world around us.
Precisely. And if you're experiencing persistent feelings of sadness, hopelessness, or anxiety that don't seem to ease with time, that's another sign that professional help might be beneficial.
So it's not just the initial wave of sadness, but a prolonged sense of emotional distress that lingers and colors our perception of everything.
Exactly. And of course, if you're having thoughts of self-harm or feeling like you can't cope, it's essential to seek immediate help. Don't hesitate to reach out to a crisis hotline or contact a mental health professional.
Those are definitely moments when reaching out for support is not a sign of weakness, but a powerful act of self-care and a testament to our resilience.
Absolutely. And sometimes people turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms to numb the pain of grief, such as substance abuse or isolating themselves from others. While these behaviors might offer temporary relief, they can ultimately hinder the healing process.
It's like we're trying to outrun the pain instead of facing it head on. But true healing often requires us to acknowledge and process those difficult emotions.
And another sign that professional help might be beneficial is if you feel stuck in your grief, unable to move forward or find any glimmers of hope.
It's that feeling of being trapped in a cycle of sadness, like we're caught in a rip current and can't find our way back to shore.
That's a powerful analogy, and that's where a therapist or counselor can be incredibly helpful. They can provide a safe and supportive space to explore those feelings, develop coping strategies, and gently guide you toward healing and growth.
So let's talk about some of the resources available for those who are navigating the complexities of grief. Where can people turn for support and guidance?
Well, grief counselors and therapists are specifically trained to help individuals understand and cope with the emotional, psychological, and even physical aspects of grief. They can provide personalized support, teach valuable coping mechanisms, and help you navigate this challenging terrain.
It's like having a knowledgeable and compassionate guide who can walk alongside us on this difficult journey. And support groups can also offer a sense of community and shared understanding, can't they?
Absolutely. Connecting with others who have experienced similar losses can be incredibly validating and reassuring. Knowing that you're not alone in your pain can offer a profound sense of comfort and belonging. You can often find support groups through hospitals, hospices, community centers, and even online platforms.
It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we're part of a larger human experience, and there's strength and solace to be found in connecting with others who understand what we're going through.
And don't underestimate the power of helplines. Many organizations offer dedicated helplines specifically for grief support. They can provide immediate assistance, connect you with local resources, and offer a listening ear when you need it most.
It's a lifeline in those moments when we feel overwhelmed and don't know where to turn.
And in today's digital age, there are also numerous websites and apps that provide valuable information and support for those navigating grief. They offer articles, videos, forums, guided meditations, a wealth of resources at your fingertips. And while these resources can be incredibly helpful, sometimes the most profound support comes from the people already in our lives.
You're talking about how we as friends, family members, colleagues, and community members can offer support to those who are grieving. That's such a crucial aspect of navigating loss, both for the individual who is grieving and for those around them.
Yes, and it doesn't require grand gestures or profound pronouncements. Often the most meaningful support comes from simply being present, listening attentively, and offering practical assistance when needed.
So what are some tangible ways we can show up for someone who is grieving? What are some actions that convey genuine care and support?
One of the most important things is to simply be there and listen without judgment. Create a space where they feel safe expressing their emotions without fear of criticism or unsolicited advice.
It's about honoring their experience without trying to fix it, minimize it, or force them to move on before they're ready.
Exactly. And be mindful of offering platitudes or cliches, even if well-intentioned phrases like time heals all wounds or they're in a better place now can often feel dismissive and minimize the person's pain.
It's more helpful to simply acknowledge their feelings, validate their experience, and let them know you're there to listen without judgment.
You're right. And offering practical help can be incredibly valuable, especially in the early stages of grief, when even everyday tasks can feel overwhelming. Offer to help with cooking, cleaning, running errands, or childcare, anything that might ease their burden.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that even the smallest acts of service can make a world of difference when someone is navigating the fog of grief. Those gestures convey care and support in a tangible way, reminding them that they're not alone in this.
Precisely. And remember that grief doesn't adhere to a specific timeline. Continue to check in with your friend or loved one, offer support, and let them know you're there for them long after the initial loss.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that healing is a process, not a destination, and that our presence and support can be invaluable throughout that journey.
And what's fascinating is that in supporting others through their grief, we often gain a deeper understanding of our own experiences with loss. It's a shared journey of healing, even though each path is unique.
It's like we're weaving a tapestry of compassion and understanding, drawing strength and solace from each other's experiences. So as we conclude this exploration of grief, what key takeaways would you leave our listener with?
Well, grief is an inevitable part of the human experience, a testament to our capacity to love and form deep connections. While the pain of loss is undeniable, it's essential to remember that healing is possible and that we don't have to walk this path alone.
It's a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, there are glimmers of hope and resilience. And sometimes that hope emerges from unexpected places, from finding new meaning and purpose in the wake of loss.
Exactly. It's about allowing ourselves to feel the pain, but also to be open to the possibility of growth and transformation. And, something I found incredibly helpful in my own life is the power of ritual. Creating meaningful rituals to honor those we've lost can be incredibly healing. Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything grand or elaborate. It could be as simple as lighting a candle, visiting a special place, or listening to their favorite music.
Yeah, it's about finding those small, meaningful ways to connect and remember, to keep their spirit alive in our hearts.
I think it's also important to be open to the idea that grief can change us, shape us into different versions of ourselves.
It's like our hearts expand to hold both the pain of loss and the love we still carry for those we've lost. And that expansion, while painful, can also lead to profound growth and compassion.
Beautifully said. And with that, I'd love to leave our listener with a final thought-provoking question. What rituals or practices might help you find comfort and meaning as you navigate your own grief journey? What small acts of self-care or connection can you incorporate into your daily life to honor your loss and support your healing?
That's such a powerful question to ponder. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. Reach out to those you trust, seek professional support if you need it, and be patient with yourself as you navigate the complex and ever-changing landscape of grief. We all experience loss at some point, but it's within those experiences that we often discover our greatest strength and resilience.